top lane is so funny. It's like you're saying, there's so much anticipation for the first like duel to the death, and so both of them are starting with like all this adrenaline and like everyone's fully locked in. And then after the first skirmish, the victor is like yes, and then whoever's in the losing part,
whoever's losing, he's like jungler, you gotta fix this.
Oh, no,
you gotta fix this.
Doomed now.
It's not my problem anymore. It's my jungler's problem.
It's everybody's problem.
Hello and welcome back to The Dive, driven by Kia, Season 10, Episode 26. Dardoch is back. Golf clap.
It's been a while. It's kind of hype. Yeah. It's actually kind of hype news because love him or hate him, he's interesting. You know, he's a character, very seasoned player at this point. What is it? Is it you say author for a quote? I don't know. Creator of the, pick me whatever so I can lose in peace quote. That is such a banger. People still use that quote all the time. So I'm pretty excited that he's back.
It is crazy how many teams he has played on too. If you look at his LoL wiki, it is wild. Like this guy has played on as like one of the longest LoL wikis, I feel like, including going back and forth to the same team sometimes multiple times. Like played on Noble Truth, Affinity, Escalate, Legion, Storm, Magnetic, Team Imagine, TL Academy, Team Liquid, then back to TL Academy, then back to Team Liquid, then back to TL Academy, then back to Team Liquid, back to TL Academy, then Team Liquid, then Immortals, then CLG, then back to Team Liquid again, then Echo Fox, Optic Gaming, Optic Academy, Immortals, then Immortals Academy, then TSM, Dignitas, Dignitas Academy, then back on Immortals, and then back on Immortals Academy, then playing in like collegiate stuff, St. Thomas, Team Fish Taco, then back to St. Thomas, Mirage Alliance, back to St. Thomas, Mirage Alliance. Like it goes and goes and goes.
Oh, you're so close to finishing. I thought we were going the distance. I was like, he's going the whole distance. Okay, we go this is then the Chaotic Solar, then Lotus, then Peak Performance, CCG Esports, Supernova, St. Cloud, State, CCG Esports again, now Dignitas. And back to Dignitas.
Back to Dig.
Like that is a crazy career.
Yeah.
That's a very experienced player right there.
Oh, yeah.
He's someone who obviously likes to compete. And I don't know which years exactly, but he was playing support at some point. I know that he did the role swap to play support for a little bit. And I believe now he's back jungle. Oh, I assume he's back jungle.
He's definitely back jungle
for Dignitas. Yeah, so that'll be cool. I think you get a lot of perspective as a player when you play another role and then come back to your main role, because that's one of the main things that makes me want to jungle in solo queue. If I'm ever burnt out of jungling or just, too annoyed with everybody screaming at you and griefing and whatever, I'll say, hey, I'm going to play some off role. And then I see what my junglers are doing and I'm like, I'm not okay with that. I can do it better. Yeah. So maybe he'll have a similar experience in LCS here.
Dardoch, obviously, he is known for toxicity. He is known for breaking point. It's just true, right? Like for his time in the LCS. And I think it's interesting because this was a player who had an undeniable amount of talent. Even in his final days in LCS, was still playing, jungle at a very high level. Has always been a guy that kept getting more opportunities because every team is like, well, if we can put the right systems around, if we can like get him to kind of like behave, then he's going to be a huge star and he's going to win us a lot of games. And that was true in a lot of cases. And I just am interested to see, like, has he now really matured? Because the reality is, it's like when he first started out, I mean, his LoL Wiki page starts at 2014, right? That's 12 years ago. He's now 28, right? So that was him starting at 16 in Tier 2 Pro. So it's like, you cannot necessarily judge him by how he behaved as like a 16-year-old, as an 18-year-old, as a whatever, and say that is for sure how he's going to be behaving now. I've been hearing a lot from people who watch Tier 2 and play in Tier 2 that like he has really changed, that he's a great teammate, and like they're gassing him up. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he does, like, and how he has matured as a person, and if that kind of helps him as a player in the LCS too, because he is doing really, really well in Tier 2 and has been doing really, really well in Tier 2 for a while now. So I'm excited to see him come back. I think it's exciting to see him on Dig. And I mean, Exyu, let's be honest, I really like Exyu, but Exyu had been really struggling. He had not been playing well. and it's clearly just not working with him. And so I think it makes a lot of sense to try to change things up and see, if Dardoch can kind of like bring something different and help Dig win some games.
Yeah, everyone in tier 2 keeps on highlighting how now he has really good leadership qualities. And to your point of him switching to support, he also spent some time coaching as well, and so has really broadened his view and his approach. And I really do like when people get chances later down the road after they have put work in. And so now it's going to be a really interesting kind of display with everybody seemingly everybody in tier 2 is really behind him and supporting and wants to see him show everybody else in tier 1 as well how he has grown and these leadership qualities and how good he can make a team. And I'm also very happy that Dignitas has another story to go with, because Dignitas, it was feeling so depressing all the time. And part of it was, Exyu's interview that he gave and the interviews that a lot of the players have given on this team. And so I do like how we talked about yesterday. All right, Dignitas are clearly trying to make moves, and Denethor is a great start. And now they're going to continue to make some changes and continue to try and find some success here. And they're also taking this pathway of, going full into North American players, which, maybe it's because it's super hard to get visas and North American players are cheaper, but either way, it's also a good, tactic to go for, to, have teams for people that really want to see all North American players, or even close to that, be able to rally behind. So I think it's going to be very exciting and interesting.
Yeah, I think they have a really compelling storyline, honestly, because totally agree with what you said. I found it to be really painful to watch some of Dignitas's recent games, especially in the last split. I think this split, it's been better. We'll talk about it later, but their match against C9 looked a lot better. But I think, their storylines, there's FBI and Ignar, players who have had like a lot of success in the past, and then Palafox as well, somebody who, I guess kind of everybody on their team are players that have been successful before, but haven't as much recently. Mm-hmm. And then there's Denethor, who's, I think he looked really promising so far. I think, he's not a LCK challenger player who comes in and runs the league over, but he's doing pretty damn well for his level of experience and coming into the team he's coming into. So yeah, I think if this team can pick up some wins, they'll be very fun to watch. Even if they don't, they'll still be fun to watch. But I think if they're not at the very bottom of the standings, they'll be one of the more interesting teams storyline-wise.
Yeah, even if they don't pick up wins, like what if they'll still be fun to watch if they
make it close. They make it close, if they're losing series 2-1, if they're at least getting advantages and having some interesting action-packed games, and I'm all about it. But I don't want to see teams go up there and just look like a corpse from the beginning and just go through the motions and lose.
So there's a lot of viewers of the past, or since we've had Classic coming back around too. I feel like there might be a decent amount of people that want to tune in just to see if Dardoch is gonna rage, or are we gonna get some listen-ins and stuff?
Oh, we're gonna get listen-ins.
There's people, there's a lot of people that haven't paid attention to the years after he left tier 1 and went back to tier 2, and so I feel like there's gonna be a lot of people that are also way more interested to watch Dignitas games for that reason. That kind of want to see.
I'm one of those people. I mean, I think we all want to see what happens, right? I think
some listen-ins, yeah.
I mean, I think it's fun. It's like, people aren't going to believe that he has changed until we get to actually see it, with him in the LCS, and see if he can kind of establish himself and kind of rebuild his reputation in that way, because this story had happened so many times with him in the LCS. Every time he changed teams, it's always like they're doing videos and pieces of content. Oh yeah, I've really changed. I'm reading leadership stuff, and I remember even the Drive thing, which was 2018, which was was about him and reshaping himself, and so I think it'll be really interesting to see how much he has changed as a person, and And it's kind of cool to me to see people who have been competing for that long and are able to kind of like earn their way back, right? And some of those players who do stick with it and earn their way back end up having like a lot better results the second time around. I mean, I think of Dokla as a great example of someone who, came with the LCS, didn't do as hot, went back down to tier 2, had to like re-earn his spot multiple times, keep having to like prove himself. And now Dokla, I think, is looked at as one of the best top laners in the league. Like his personality is like really shining this time around in the LCS. Like they got to have like a second chance and think about like, how do I wish I had done this, right? And Dokla, I remember when he first came back up from tier 2, was like, I interviewed him on his first match day, and yeah, he's like, I wish so much that I had actually tried to like build a platform and show my personality and do all these things, and like he got that second chance. So we get to see Dardoch have his second chance, and like I'm sure he thought a lot about how he was in the LCS before, and now he gets a chance to like reintroduce himself.
And for Dokla, he's had to have like third and fourth chances even when he does well at Worlds, and then he ends up teamless again somehow, and then a team has to pick him back up, and then he does really well again, and then he ends up without a team again. It's been a kind of a crazy cycle.
It really has. And my connection is actually pretty funny because I was on Optic with both of those guys you're mentioning. Yeah, I was on the LCS team with Dokla, and then Dardoch was the jungler on the academy team. And we did a little bit of switching off kind of thing, that was back in the era of we have a 10-man roster for both team kind of deals. So was a little bit involved with them. And I gotta say, Dardoch said some of the funniest stuff in review. It wasn't particularly helpful. It was definitely a bit toxic, but it was one of those things that if it's not being said directly to you, you can't help but laugh. It was like the way he would flame his teammates was so funny. It was so funny. That was always a really good time. So,
oh man, I want an example or a show, a snippet.
Oh man, I don't know. I would have to. Maybe I could ask Dokla or Gate because I work with him on Gap, but he was there as well. So there were some really, really funny times. I'll try to find some kind of example. Yeah.
Some storytelling.
I remember in that era, you probably did this too sometimes, Kobe, but like in the observer room, we used to be able to just like, if you weren't on the game, if you wanted, you could just go watch in the observer room and you could just listen to team comps. And so like we were never allowed to like talk about what we heard in there, right? Because it's like, it's not on air, it's not public. But like some of the Dardoch comps were crazy. So yeah, I could definitely imagine how funny it would be in behind closed doors when he was wilding on stage. So it would definitely be funny.
Yeah, definitely. So that's kind of brings us back to the initial point. No matter what happens with Dardoch, it's going to be good. It's either going to be this redemption story, clearing his name, showing a lot of growth, which would be cool to see, or not.
Or a train wreck.
And that would still be fun to watch.
Yeah. Going to be exciting either way. Something else that's exciting that we have some news here for you is that Riot is actually loosening a lot of the restrictions that they had on community organized competitions, which is something that's been brought up for many, many years. And has been a discussion point where there's a lot of kind of hoops that organizations would have to go through to have varying different sizes of competitions. And there is an article that we'll add a link in the description. But the TLDR is that they're loosening the restrictions very, very meaningfully. And as someone who came up doing basically when there was only grassroots stuff and there was like the Gopher LOLs and, we would play in like Amazon tournaments or Razer tournaments or stuff and you'd win like a processor or the Dignitas mouse pads or whatever. It's like, it's actually quite huge and it's something that can really cause a community to have a lot to rally behind. So some of this, I wanted to look at some of the specific things because the TLDR was just like, oh, it's easier. I was like, how much easier? But it looks like a lot. They've removed hard caps on sponsorship revenue, prize pools, entry fees, spectator fees, removed restrictions on different state competitions for universities as well as high schools. And so it seems like they're really trying to get a lot more, young players. And I think that's definitely a very worthwhile goal here, to allow more competition. That's one of the funnest things, is playing with 5 people under competitive, circumstances. And so if you can do that at a high school level, at a college level, or even just host something yourself, Meteos.
Yeah, because I have a lot of history with the grassroots tournament scene, because that's what got me into it in the first place. Little story time for me. I might have said this before on the dive in another season or something, but basically, back when there was the Go Fall tournament, it was the weekly tournament on Sundays. I would play with my friends, who we were all kind of just high elo normal game players, but we never played rank because it was too try hard. But tournaments were fair game. I don't know, it didn't make sense, but. We played in it in like 2 weeks in a row. We had got to the finals and then lost against a team of other normal game players. And then we finally won on 1 week, which was awesome. We got the Triumphant Ryze skin, which is coming back. Super cool skin. I remember getting that for the first time, and it was just so sick. I didn't even really play much Ryze, but it's like, this is my trophy.
Yeah.
And then the really cool part was that I was in a Skype chat room. This was right before Season 2 Worlds, and like the manager for Moscow 5 was writing in this scrim room for just amateur teams, saying like, hey, is anyone available to scrim?
That's crazy.
And it's like, obviously asking pro teams, and I just jokingly was like, hey, we're the winners of a Go for LoL, we'll play against you. And they were like, okay. And we were like, what? Like, we went from normal game players to winning a weekly tournament. Now we're playing against one of the best teams in the world.
Yeah.
And we actually beat them in one scrim. We had this crazy combo of like, thank you. I was kind of a Skarner main back then. So we would do Morgana, Jace, Skarner. You like Black Shield, Skarner. You speed them up with the Jace gate and just flash grab somebody. Mm-hmm. And it worked against them. And then we played them again, and they tried harder and they beat us. But it was still a really cool memory that has stuck with me since then. So I just think, I know that a lot of my friends, rank 5s has been a big success. Clash is super fun. So I think anything that just gets people together and competing, because even if you're not the most competitive person, it's just fun. Dude, it's just fun to go up there, win or lose. I mean, okay, winning's more fun, but it's just,
but having the goal adds something different to it, I think. Like the fact that it feels like, ooh, there's something on the line, and it just makes it more exciting. It does. It's just like, it's really fun to play when you all have that kind of like unified goal. You're all like drafting and stuff feels more exciting, more interesting. You're thinking about, like, I know when playing in Riot Rumbles and that sort of stuff, it's like people get really into it, and it's really fun to think about, oh, like, what are they going to play? Like, oh, this guy plays a lot of Mbessa. Like, I got to work on my Renekton and make sure I have the counter pick ready. And like, this kind of stuff, or you get beat 1 week by like a certain champion. So you're like, I need to learn that, because like that was really, really strong. Like, I need to be able to do that too. It's just kind of like that extra motivation. And it's really fun when you have a group of people that are all kind of like feeling that same way and trying to think about like ways to improve and ways to kind of do better. It's like it's a microcosm of what you get in pro, right? And so it's kind of like fun to get that experience.
Yeah, definitely. And you were mentioning what I really want to see. I don't know if I would be able to throw my own tournament, but what I want to watch somebody do at least is just a full-on try-hard ARAM tournament, specifically ARAM Mayhem, because it's one of those modes that obviously it is a for fun mode, and I'm positive if you tried to like make it competitive in a tournament, it would probably be slop. Like, it would probably not be great gameplay. But I'm just so curious what it would look like, because I think about when I'm playing, I'm like, what are the optimal strategies and what are the big mistakes that people make? And the one that I always think is, I think the worst thing you can do in ARAM/Mayhem is just like stagger your deaths and just like keep going in and dying. Yeah. But people love doing that. And so that it's just, if there was a tournament and you could just see which strats were the most effective, I think it would be kind of cool. Probably not as like a recurring thing, but if it was, at least seeing it once would be interesting just to see what happens,
Yeah, we were talking about this before, but like I played in a Riot Rumble tournament that was an ARAM tournament. It wasn't ARAM Mayhem, but this was years ago. And obviously it was like very disparate elos, so it's not like it's like pros playing and whatever. But even that, just seeing the way that people changed how they played, like, really does change the game a lot. People would put their best player on like the hardest scaling champ. They'd give all farm to that player. If you felt like you outscaled, people would be like turtling the tower and picking wave clear champs and this sort of thing. And it's like, I could see Mayhem. People are getting like some of the scaling augments, and they are just playing to have the slowest game possible. Like you get, I think it's called Phenomenal Evil Power or whatever, like the stacking AP one. You want to play a 50-minute game, like just, get 1,000 AP, whatever. whatever. Would be interesting. I mean, I think ARAM's a lot of fun. I play a lot of ARAM, so it would definitely be fun to try. Maybe it wouldn't be that fun to watch once it's optimized.
Oh, I assume it wouldn't be. That's not what the mode's about at all, but just out of curiosity, what would it look like?
Yeah,
Sign me up.
It's always a little dangerous about like which modes are for fun, and got to keep it the for fun mentality, or how serious you get. But having a little bit, and having a tournament where everyone can kind of flex and like really get into it, definitely would be fun. I mean, I know you mentioned the success of rank 5s as well. My flex queue group that we play a lot with is like we have at least like 2 or 3 autofills. Is whoever's playing or whatever. We'll switch roles and stuff like that. And they're like, "Oh, cool! Rank 5s came out. Let's just do rank 5s instead of flex today." And then we like play some rank 5s games, and we're like, "Whoa! People are really sweating. These are way harder than flex queue games." I was like, "Well, yeah, guys. They probably have like everyone on their main role, and like they're literally like they're trying to climb the ladder. Like that's the whole point of this one. Is it's more tryhard. So as long as everyone going to the more serious, more tryhard
has the same goal
mode, wants that, then it's good. But our group was like, let's go back to flex queue.
That's funny. Yeah, I played rank 5s with different groups, and I have noticed people are pretty tryhard. I'm never tryhard in it because I just can't take it seriously. But it is fun still. I just keep flex every time.
Are you more tryhard in rank 5s than flex queue, or is it the same?
No, not at all.
It's the same.
I'll try in solo queue when I want to climb, but rank 5s is like, I'm just here for a good time. I'm not trying to lose, but I'm just not that invested in what happens.
Yeah. That's always the hard part about any team game, is that if people have very different views. Like some of my friends are just like absolute trolls, right? Like 4 people, like 3 or 4 people will be like, "All right, guys, so like we're really gonna try, like so and so wants to get this rank or whatever," and people are like, "Okay, well let's build this comp. All right, your last pick. We need AP. Just insta lock first time Zed or whatever." And like we're like full physical, and then they like 5th pick Malphite or something. You're just like, "Oh God, like don't worry, it'll be fine."
I mean, I'm definitely guilty of that too, because I use our flex queue games of like, what got buffed? All right, I need to practice X champion or whatever. So I'm not gonna practice it in my first like solo queue.
Yeah, obviously.
I'll play. Yeah,
that matters.
The flex queue one though. All right, guys, I'm playing jungle Teemo or whatever today.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. All right, well, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna be right back, and we're gonna talk all about the LCS.
Dude, this lobby is kind of comfy. It feels different.
If this is different, I like different. I'm staying right here.
Are you guys serious? We're about to get into game.
Emily, let us enjoy it.
You guys need to lock in. Maybe this'll help.
Oh no, not already.
Welcome back to The Dive, driven by Kia. It is time to talk LCS. We just had week 2 of the LCS, and it is looking more and more like TL and LYON, definitely the top dogs. They are looking really, really strong.
Let's lock that in.
Yeah, they're looking really good. But we can start with Dig versus C9. Obviously, that was the final match, as it turns out, with Exyu. Dignitas did lose, but they made it relatively close. They won the first game against C9. It was a 2-1 series. And C9 are on the board, but still not looking, I think, as convincing as people would maybe hope if you're a C9 fan.
Yeah, definitely a little shaky for them. They're still... I've been trying to take a positive approach to it and be like, okay, well, yeah, they're still trying to incorporate 2 new players, basically. And it really does, especially with Loki and Tactical just continuing to play. It feels like there's more and more credence lended to my previous idea that I was like, all right, these are the guys they wanted to switch on the team, and the other 2 are for sure like pretty far secondary priorities. I wonder if that is ever going to change, if APA or Sven kind of gets a bump or gets a chance or whatever if they get onto a rough streak. But so far, I'm like, all right, Cloud9's incorporating 2 new players, so it's going to be a little bit bumpy, and we'll see how quickly they can, improve with them. And losing a game to Dignitas, even though Dignitas are kind of making that their summer identity so far, where they had the one game of Palafox Summer.
Palafox Summer is more of a game one thing.
Yeah, Palafox Summer is like it's a game to game what type of weather is out there on Summoner's Rift. But they did come out with another individual game victory for Dignitas, and it's I mean, obviously the biggest thing is going to be the personnel change for that team, but I can definitely see possibilities for upside for them.
Yeah. I mean, I think for C9, it's like you say, it's like, yeah, they are still incorporating the players. They have been with them for a bit, obviously, because they were playing the off-season tournament and so on. But it is also pretty atypical to be this late in the year. It's it's split 3 and you're making changes, right? And usually that doesn't really happen unless teams are kind of in desperation mode. And because C9 keeps missing out, in playoffs, they lost the last like 6 games or whatever it was in playoffs, and they keep missing internationals even after having good regular season after good regular season after good regular season. Jack, the team, obviously thought they had to change some stuff, right? And when you're changing this late in the year, teams are kind of like hitting, around their peak usually, in summer, right? Because teams are trying to ramp up all year to be able to, get to summer playoffs, get to Worlds. And so you're going up against teams that have been practicing together for all year pretty much. And some teams for longer than that because they've been together even longer.
You're splitting your practice time with seven different people.
Yeah. So
on Cloud9.
That does definitely make it harder. I will say Loki has looked, I think, a lot worse than I expected because I felt like Loki looked quite good individually when he was here with C9 last time. So I am a little bit surprised on that. I know there was kind of like some discussion about, miscommunications and things like that. Like some of the realm warps were like crazy, right?
All of the realm warps were crazy.
Yeah.
That was such an insane performance by Loki because I don't usually watch a game and be like, this one guy is full blown losing the game for his team, but it was pretty easy to see in this one.
But even Thanatos took the realm warp in the end and killed himself.
I know, but he was forcing them into their realm warp.
He forced him.
Okay, before
he forced him to walk into it.
Okay, his Loki, they said it on broadcast, his Ryze stats before this game was 0-7 or something.
Yeah, he's 0-8 all time now.
Yeah, he's
never
0-8. Exactly. And sometimes when you have the kind of stats, it could just be unlucky. Maybe it didn't work out. But this one, it didn't feel very unlucky. No. I think every single ult he did was so troll. It was either him porting into everybody, porting somebody else into everybody. Or just, I don't understand. They were treating Ryze ult like it was just this insane, I don't even know if you'd call it a flank or what, but he just put it there. He thought it
made a flank when you're in the center of the team.
It doesn't make you invulnerable when you show up or something. I don't know if it was like a translation issue or something.
Give you $5 if you step in the realm warp.
It was so crazy watching it. It was just every single fight. I'm sitting there being like, how is nobody on the team calling this off? If I was playing in that game and my Ryze did that, one time I'm like, okay, we tried. 2 times, I'd probably say something the next time we suggest to say, hey, you know what? We probably don't need to do that. But it just kept happening. Like 4, 5. It just did not stop ulting people in.
The mid lane one crazy. Where he just like went into the whole center of the team and killed himself. Apparently there was like, that was like a language barrier thing they were saying, or like some sort of miscommunication thing where it was like, I guess Blabber said like, let's look mid. And he thought that ment like,
I got you up
he
close,
thought that meant like engage or like go now or something. So he just like realm warped in. And I guess that's what I had heard, is that was some sort of miscommunication. I'm not saying that forgives it, but maybe it kind of explains it. I don't know. Right. But like there was, like you said, there were so many bad ones. This is like the worst realm warps I've seen ever, right? Like this game was crazy because they were actually in a good position for most of the game.
They were up 5,000 gold, by the way. They had a 5,000 gold lead in this game.
Soul and Ocean Soul. And it's like Thanatos was up like 3,000 gold individually or something like that. But even the final realm warp from Thanatos was kind of unforced, because at first I was like, did this get like dropped on his head and he like walked, like what happened here? But he like clicked out of it, then clicked back into it, then S-keyed, and then arrived in the middle of the team. So I just truly did not even understand what was happening with Thanatos to like...
Okay. And his defense for that one, Vulcan tried to engage as Camille and he missed the flash E and then kind of got like pushed out of the fight. And maybe Thanatos wasn't able to get out of the realm warp by that point, but... I don't know. It was.
Still don't think there's a world in which you want to arrive in the middle of 4 people.
Probably not. I don't think so either. But maybe if the Vulcan engaged worked and then they forgot about you, it could have done something. I'm not defending the play. It was for sure bad. But that was wild. That was seriously a completely crazy thing to watch. I had no words for it. I was freaking out just seeing it again and again and again. So I don't know. Maybe no more Ryze for Loki.
Yeah, maybe no more
or
Ryze.
maybe play Ryze and just don't press R. I don't know. I don't know.
He's got to get back to basics. Back to
Really, he
basics,
does.
Ryze.
He does.
Yeah, I mean that to me, there has been a couple performances I feel like from Loki where I've been kind of surprised individually because like I said, I kind of remember him looking pretty good. Tactical, I feel like individually has looked pretty good to me. Like he's been playing pretty well overall. To me, a lot of the issues from C9, we talked about this last week, but like I felt like last week it was more about team coordination. Like TL was just kind of outclassing them in jungle support, how they coordinated, and I feel like there's definitely a lot of disjointed looking plays from C9 still, right? Like the realm warp stuff, but there's just like whether it's miscommunications or whatever is going on, like C9 were in a very winning position and managed to lose that game against Dignitas, which was obviously concerning. They did win the next 2 games. They did end up taking the series, which obviously they're on the board. They got to win. That's good for them, but I do think it is still a little bit spooky for C9, given that you're playing against one of the easiest teams in the league, and it was not like smooth sailing, shall we say, until really like the last game. The last game, I guess, was like pretty one-sided to my recollection.
Especially because the setup for the league, as we keep talking about, really does seem like with everybody putting so much emphasis, and I'd say probably no other organization more than Cloud9 on making worlds, making an international, the top 2 spots feel like they're like almost filled in with Team Liquid and LYON already.
Yeah.
Of course, it's super early to make those, claims and stuff like that.
But it looks that way.
It definitely could turn around. But it for sure looks that way right now. Those 2 teams are definitely playing better than all of the other teams in the league. And so it does really just make you cognizant of how much time you have to work with, because you've got a 7-person roster. Your time is already like split in half or even less than other teams because you're practicing with multiple components. Small aside though, by the way, I did like the little interview we had where I think it was APA was talking about the difference in playing scrims and then watching the scrims, and he was still getting something for the time where he was watching the scrims. So it's not like you only have you're only using 50% of your actual day. He's still getting something watching and discussing with coaches and stuff. But back to the main point is that Cloud9 don't have a lot of time to work with, and if the top 2 spots to go to Worlds are already close to being filled in, there is a tremendous amount of pressure on you beating FlyQuest and Sentinels and whoever else is going to challenge you for this 3rd spot. So you really got to lock in very quickly and solve whatever, communication issues, don't care. Got to solve those. You got to get the Worlds, got to get your ticket. Coordination issues, individual issues, everything has to be kind of locked up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was fun seeing Denethor in this series as well. Game 3 on the Jace, he was kind of like the only thing really working for Dignitas, and I don't know. It's nice seeing someone come up like NA top laner. It's his debut at this level, and he's playing against someone like Thanatos and still like making some pretty good plays and doing some pretty good things. In the one game they won, obviously he was giga behind in cold to the Corki counterpick from Thanatos, but he still had some like pretty nice Gnar plays. Like he had like a 4-man ult in bot lane tier 2. So he had some pretty good moments, and I kind of enjoyed watching that. And it'll be interesting to see how this team looks with Dardoch, right? That's kind of going to be the huge change. They already bought in Denethor, and now we get to see like if that is going to be like an immediate kind of upgrade for them or not. DSG played against Fly, and this one was like game 1 was like a little bit closer to my recollection. DSG actually had like a decent lead, but game 2 was like a pretty big stomp.
Yeah, I mean, FlyQuest, I feel like Quad was kind of smurfing. So Quad had a really good Cassiopeia game number 2. The game number 2 was definitely the stompy one. You're talking about game number 1 being a lot closer. That's because that was the full dive comp where Sajed did get his Kaisa.
Yep.
And he was, talking afterwards about how he wished that he could have carried. And there were definitely points where they could have. For a good 10 minutes, they were nursing this 5,000 gold lead for a good 10 minutes of the game in the middle there for DSG, and they had a lot of angles, and I thought there was going to be an actual victory for them, but they overstepped, and FlyQuest had a really good punish there.
Yeah, Lions tried to get the taunt flash on Masu mid lane, I think.
And Masu flashed it.
And then he was just like stuck in the middle of the team, and they all just kind of got wiped.
Masu also bought like a late arm guard, and he was able to use that really effectively too.
Yeah, I think that was the play that sort of lost the game entirely, if I recall correctly. But there was one before that as well that, to me, just felt like DSG hasn't been in winning positions enough to feel comfortable with it. And they just sort of got frantic. It was when they were in top lane, kind of kiting out after they had pushed.
Got jumped on?
I don't remember all the specifics. I do know that Call Me, played to turn, and then Sajed, I always call him Saj, but I don't think that's right. He TP'd mid, Sajed. He TP'd mid. To try to go for an end or something, but it was not even remotely close.
Yeah, there was
and that is just something that I've seen people do in lower tier teams when you just don't have faith in either your own or your team's ability to win fights. And so you just start looking for the way to like end the game without fighting, if that makes sense. Because, every once in a while you'll see a game that gets ended by somebody going for one of these hero TPs. Usually it's around Elder though. But this one was just not that situation whatsoever. I think that if he moved up to the fight, they could have won it. I don't know specifically. I didn't go back and study it, but it did just look really weird to see that.
It was weird. This one, this was the one that I was thinking of where Surdy kind of got caught out, where like they were pushing because they already had mid lane open, and Surdy kind of like he was playing Abessa and he queued in under the tower to try to like chunk someone under the tower, but like he used all his dashes into the tower, and then he just got engaged on by Camille and tried to get out. And it looked like pretty cooked kind of from there, it felt like to me, because they were trying to like come up and initially join the fight, but then it was like Orianna ball and like Ziggs poke and stuff standing like in between Lions and Sajed and the rest of the fight. So it felt like it was pretty hard for them to enter. And then that's that time where you're talking about where it's like, okay, they decide, well, right, we'll just like back off and I'll try to like TP and end it or whatever, which obviously like did not work at all. He like TP'd and then immediately realized it wasn't going to work and just left.
At the very least, Quad also TP'd to defend it. I seem to remember. So at the very least, it was 1-for-1 on summoner spells. But yeah, maybe he could have ulted into the fight or something and saved it.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Like watching this back, it looks like pretty cooked from the start as soon as Surdy got caught. But it is one of those things where it's back-to-back weeks. I mean, DSG is the only team that hasn't won a game yet, right? Every other team has won at least 2 games. They're 0-4 now. Wow. But game 1 in both week 1 and week 2, they had pretty significant gold leads, right? And like this moment you're talking about, when that happens, they are up 3.4k, and they've already killed the mid lane Hib, and they're sieging the top tower, and they have the Baron buff, right? So it's like they're at a position where you would think, oh, they actually like have gotten enough that they could win this game, but they weren't able to play it cleanly enough. This situation goes bad, then they try to make a big play mid lane on Masu, and that goes bad, and everything kind of just got cooked. But I think it was always going to be a hard game if it went too late, and it felt like they really needed to kind of end in my mind. Like when you're playing against these like double AP carry type comps, it always just feels so hard to win the game as a full dive comp once they have their Zhonya's. And it's like, okay, now our dive targets are an Orianna with the Zhonya's, a Ziggs with the Seekers, or like a 4-item Shyvana or a 4-item Aatrox. And it's like, okay, who do we send it on, right? It becomes so difficult, I always feel like. So you have to be really clean, kind of like to your point, when you're playing these types of comps to be able to actually close the game, even if you build a lead. Yeah,
I think another reason as well that it's kind of hard is that for bruisers and fighters, there's not actually very good MR options for you. There's Maw, which you can build, but you never feel good about building Maw. You prefer to have Death Stance and GA, which are usually the 3rd, 4th items for all the bruisers, and then both of those are only really armor. Death Stance gives you the stagger damage against everybody, which is good, but when they have Zhonya's and you're not killing anybody, it's not actually doing anything for you. It's just delaying the damage. So I think that's probably part of why these AP comps are doing pretty well lately. But it did, yeah, it was interesting. So he didn't build any MR whatsoever, not even a Merc Threads or something.
Yep. Yeah, he was on Tabby's. Like their whole team has basically 0 MR. There's Mercs on support and jungle, and then like a Locket, and obviously some support items have a little bit of MR. But like that is it for their entire team.
Yeah. Galio had Galio stuff, so a little bit. But yeah, it was not... maybe it was hard for them to win, but it is strange just thinking about it because... historically, when you do run Mage Bot instead of an AD carry, you run into scaling problems. You know, AD carry generally does better than the mages do, but it hasn't seemed to be the case lately.
Well, I feel they totally should have won this game. They had gotten the 2 Barons. They had 5,000 gold lead for quite a while and like control of the map. I think the thing that kind of threw them off is that with Baron getting nerfed and the fact that they didn't get any of the early dragons meant that, you know, the easiest way to end when you have a full dive like this is like, all right, we'll just, you know, make them come out into the map to the dragons and we'll, you know, engage on them and kill them in the open. But they were so far away from getting either soul or obviously to an elder that would be even longer than that. And it kind of like, sometimes I feel like some of these teams, especially the ones that are like younger, if you give them too much time to like, you know, do other stuff, then eventually there's going to be some mistake like this where, you know, push a little too far or get caught on one side or something, and there's a big comeback moment. So yeah, they're going to have to, you know, clean that stuff up, but they at least were able to get themselves into a winning position. For game 1. Yeah, for game 2. Game 1.
Game 2 was not that story whatsoever. My lord, game 2 was an absolute stomp. That was wild. I was just picturing myself in Cryo's shoes this game. This is where Sajed and Lions got solo killed at level 2 or 3 bot lane, and they used, I think, only Leona heal. They both had flash up and they had barrier, and then they just fully died. And if I'm in solo queue and my bot lane does that on my first clear as jungler, I'm just like, I guess we lost. I don't know what to say. I don't know how that happens. You either really messed up your draft or really messed up your play, or probably both, honestly. So yeah, that was rough. It didn't get much better.
We were casting this one with Tactical, and it was really funny because Tactical already was like, all right, this draft is like 85-15 or like 90-10 or something in Likewise favor. And then we get the early 2v2 kill. And we're like, so what do you do if you're in the bottom lane on there? And he's like, FF, man, get me out. Like, it was definitely a very, very rough one beat down. It was like really like no real comeback avenues, you know, for this team.
No, I mean, they were playing basically a comp that, like in Tactical's view, like we were talking about the draft during it because the analyst was covering the draft, and he was just like, basically the only possible way they can win is they like super stomp early game, you know, like have to run the game through mid jungle. It just felt like they were like hard outscaled, way worse comp. Just felt like it was pretty unplayable. And then, you know, like going into it with that view, and then they immediately get like 2v2 double killed bot, and like mid lane's getting stomped, everything's going horrible. It's just like, oh no. So this game was definitely very one-sided.
Yeah, that was a super rough one. That was a bit of a display of why I ranked a DSG low on my rankings, because their bottom lane kind of are the expected. If you told me one bottom lane had this happen to them in the LCS, I would assume it was them, because I don't know. I guess they're just a little bit outclassed by the rest of the league. And obviously Moss and Cryogen are probably, I would say maybe the best laning 2v2, especially in a matchup like this. I think they're probably the best Ezreal Bard. I know that some of the other, like Berserker and Isles are really good, obviously. Yon and Core JJ very good, but I think Maso and Cryogen have just gotten the most 2v2 kills. They played to kill their lane, for sure. And they did that.
Yep.
They did a lot.
They kept doing
that
it
a lot. They did that 13 times.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like I was a bit surprised that Lions didn't get replaced. I feel like Lions has been really struggling this whole year with their team, and
well, looking at Shopify's struggle in replacing Seos, I feel like it's probably hard to find someone.
Yeah,
I know. I saw a lot of comments as well with similar feelings, critiquing Lions. But just the Zazel story of like, I didn't even really want to come back, and Shopify was begging me, and then I said, okay, fine.
I was kind of thinking about like Ayla or somebody.
Yeah,
You know,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like I always felt
What's
like
he up to?
I felt like Ayla was pretty good. He's playing in like APAC, I think, right now.
Okay.
Bring him back.
So it's like that was someone I kind of my mind went to. I don't know. Maybe they inquired. Maybe they couldn't find someone. You know, to your point, it's not always easy. But I mean, Sajed, at least it feels like you can see some of the strengths of Sajed. You see these like flashes of brilliance, right? You're like, oh, okay, like you can see what's going on.
There's no flashes.
There's no flashes.
It's just all
I'm in a dark
darkness.
room.
It's all dark.
We got the blackouts.
No.
It's just like the laning does not seem good. I don't think the team fighting seems very good. I'm gonna be honest. Whether it's a him thing or like a people on different pages thing or whatever, I just haven't felt like he has ever really looked like he's fit well with the team this year. And so that was one area where it's like, it's clearly it's not all just his fault, and by no means DSG has been struggling, period. But that is one area where I feel like I'm just not seeing it. Like I'm not seeing the vision, I guess. Whereas with a lot of the other players on DSG, I see those moments of like, okay, yeah, like this could work. You know, both the game ones, you know, this weekend, last week, there was a lot of those kind of like moments from various players, whether it was Surdy or Sajed or whoever, where you're like, okay, yeah, like you can kind of like see the moment, you know.
Yeah, I just picture yourself. Nope, this can't work. Nope, not this.
I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, it definitely has
tough.
been rough. Yeah, I mean, obviously with the zero wins too.
Yep. But we'll see if they can kind of like improve from there. Next series we had was Shopify versus LYON, and you were pretty happy with Shopify after last week. You had them as you had them in the medium plus tier, in the dog tier. You were putting them up with FlyQuest and C9.
I'm trying to remember back to last week.
So long ago.
That wasn't me. That was
No, I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just trying to remember here. You know, yeah, Shopify.
We want to reclassify the dog size here, or are you still happy with them up in the second dog tier?
I mean, I still think. Well, I think Dig. Maybe we swap them in Dig because Dardoch might make cause them to grow a little bit. Right?
Yeah.
That'll be a little bit bigger dog.
But how? But are
Wow,
they
really? I feel like that seems pretty
is
rough
like-
for Shopify to give them dig spots
In the
especially after
Chihuahua
what we just
tier?
saw.
Yeah, nah.
Is this like a Chihuahua with like a mohawk? Just got a little bit extra on top.
I still think Shopify's pretty. I still think Shopify's at the. Wait, is the little plus?
There was like we had the big dogs, we got
Yeah.
TL and LYON, and then we were like, okay, we got the like medium plus. These are like the world's qualifiers.
Yeah.
And I think you had Shopify a bit higher. Like you were.
No. Well, it was that was the FlyQuest and Sentinels, right?
Oh, I thought you had them on the same tier as C9 and Sentinels and stuff. Maybe I'm misremembering.
Yeah, it was.
I'm gonna have to go check the
You
tapes.
were
then.
a little bit more positive, I think, on them than me. So I was just kind of curious on how positive you were feeling or not after this one,
Yeah, when I was
because there were some good moments, but it also didn't really like come together.
Yeah, after we finished talking about it, I was thinking about it, and I do probably think I still rate C9 FlyQuest above Sentinels and Shopify and all the other teams, even though there's going to be some recency bias and whatnot. A lot of times teams coming off wins will just look better and seem better in your mind, but I don't know about Shopify for me still. I think Zenny is kind of just being put on Galio and Nivea, and it feels kind of like they are just cutting their losses or just trying to find something that works, these Band-Aid fixes, rather than trying to enable him to get the most out of him, is my impression watching this team. And it kind of works to an extent, but I think it doesn't have a high cap. I feel like there's a lot of potential for this team when I watch the way that they've been playing.
Yeah. I feel like week one, one of the things I was really feeling a lot more positive that like made me feel like, oh, maybe Shopify is better than I thought, was that Fudge performed really, really well. Week two, I felt like Fudge was pretty disappointing to me. Both these games, I mean, game one, I felt like basically their whole draft was just to get him counterpick top, right? Like they did this like last pick Vayne to flex the Jace into jungle, to give him Vayne into Cassante, and you know he's building like a pretty big gold lead, and he's like getting into this good spot, and then I felt like there was this one fight where they have this dive onto Berserker over by like a Lion's blue buff area, and a Berserker lives through like Ignite with like Locket and all this sort of stuff with like 1 auto of health. And Fudge was like right there with Flash and just kind of like stayed back and wanted to play it more conservative. And like I felt like he just needed a flash on him and just auto him one time and he's dead. And maybe you can actually take over the fight from there, because the only consistent damage that they had in this whole comp was Berserker, right? And it's like if you kill him, I feel like you have the ability to probably clean up in a fight. And so not only did he not play it aggressive, he then died to Charm without using Flash. And it's like Saint, to his credit, was finding good angles, like coming out of fog and like Charm flashes or like ulting over wall and charming him and stuff. But it's like you can't not play aggressive and also not be able to use your summoners defensively properly in every fight when the whole draft is about like, all right, get him the Vayne so he can pop off. Like he's the only guy who could kill the front line in this whole comp, right? Like you're playing the Vayne, and as soon as he would die, Dokla literally just right clicks onto B-Voy and B-Voy has to run away, because it's like you are never killing this Cassante as a Ziggs. It's just never going to happen, right? Like it has to be Vayne. And so I was really disappointed with how he played multiple fights in a row. It was 2 or 3 fights in a row to end the game that he died to Charm without flashing. He didn't decide to go QSS. He went for Jack shows, which is like, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, then you got to be able to flash. And it felt like he both didn't have the killer instinct and failed defensively. And then in the Jax game, he got counterpick again. It was a blind Olaf, and he goes Jax with Ignite, and they traded Ignite and exhaust and stuff. And it's like that always favors the Ignite player. You just wait for the Ignite to come back up, and then you all in on the timing window when you have Ignite. And instead, he literally all in like 5 seconds before his Ignite came back up, and then got solo killed. And Dokka lived with like, I don't know, like
less than Ignite does.
Less than Ignite does. Yeah.
He definitely would have killed him if he had it.
He would have killed him easily. Yeah. And I was like, you're trolling. Like your Ignite is up in 5 seconds. Just like wait a couple seconds and you win for sure. And I don't know. I was really disappointed with how Fudge played this week. Not the only problem or anything like that, but like, I don't know. I just felt like if you are set up for that much, where they're giving you counter picks, where they're building the whole comp around you, where they're like flexing in a jungle for you, all this stuff, and then you do not play well, then it's like, okay, well, should you be playing towards this person against a good team?
Yeah. I thought game 1, he had one death where Saint hit the most ridiculous charm flash on him. I couldn't even blame Fudge for that, honestly. That was such a ridiculous play by Saint. I think that kind of thing
was the one by the side brush, right?
Yeah, by the side brush from mid. It was just, they didn't know Saint could be there. The way he played Vision was so good. At the end. He had been sitting on top side. Shopify was setting up for Dragon or something bot side, and they were pretty much only looking at the bottom side of the map. He waited for the minions to walk by. Shopify didn't have a ward in the mid lane. He went around the minions, and then he was just behind them, an angle you would never be watching unless you thought there was some possibility he could be there. And then there was such a tiny angle to get the charm to hit Vayne, but not Zinni, because Zinni was standing kind of right next to him, and he hit it. I don't know. Saint just played so insanely well this game. It was also in a 4v5. I want to say Dokla had died just beforehand. So I wasn't even that upset at Shopify for this game. I thought Saint just had one of the most ridiculous performances I've seen in recent memory. It was such a good game.
That was for sure a 1v9 from Saint too, because like they were, the rest of them were in bad positions, and Saint just kept on saving plays. There was that other team fight where he goes back in and he gets 2 more kills out of nowhere after they had just lost like 4 people at Dragon. Saint's Ari is definitely one of his 1v9 champions. The replay, or the play that you're talking about where he got into the crazy flank, I really like the observers did a replay with the vision toggle, and they like showed his whole pathway where he was waiting in the side brush on one side of mid lane, then walked all the way to the over one, and like showed how he got there too. So yeah, that was definitely cool. Saint was for sure, even all his teammates afterwards were like, yeah, game number 1, wow, Saint's just too good. And then game number 2, they blast him.
There were so many opportunities where that could have gone wrong for Saint, which is what makes it so impressive, because in the thing you were mentioning when the observers showed the vision, Zinni had been standing in a spot that would have seen where he came from half a second before he was there. And he just somehow perfectly navigated the vision gaps to get to that spot, and then hits the charm flash. You could have easily face planted on that. It would have been so easy to miss that. But there's really, I don't think anybody's flashing that. If Fudge flashes that, I'm checking for, I'm running Vanguard on his computer again. I don't know. They need to double check it because that was just too crazy.
No, that one I agree was like for sure really, really hard to react to. I just am more disappointed of the previous
fight that was, the one you're talking about was by Dragon and Blue Buff kind of, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like in this one, they even like to my recollection, I'll double check, but they had vision of the Ahri, I believe. Like they blue trinketed it and then they cleared it out. Yeah, and they even shock blast him in the bush, and then he just kind of like doesn't flash in to kill Berserker, and then walks up to the bush that they just shock blasted the Ahri in and gets charmed and dies. And like it's just it was tough. Like I don't think that Fudge is like, oh my god, he played so horrible, but it's just I don't know if I am on this team and especially if I am like contracts where I feel like who do you really want to play Jace jungle? Not really. Like, I don't think so. I think it's like you're doing this for your team, right? It's the same time when Inspired played it, it was for Dokla because Dokla didn't want to play against Malphite. And so he's like, okay, I'll take this. And then you play your Sejuani top counter into it. Like, you're doing it for the team. So it's like, then they have to play well, or it's just like, it just pisses you off, right? Like, you're like, why did I screwed my game so I could watch you die to this charm where we spotted this guy in the bush that I shot blasted for you? So I don't know. I mean, I guess I was just disappointed by Fudge this week compared to last, where I thought he played really, really well.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Harder competition for sure.
Oh yeah,
I think that one thing that I thought was really funny about this game is I was talking to Dokla earlier in the week, and he was basically saying like, so when is Riot going to nerf Vayne? This champion's so stupid. And I was looking up the stats of her for competitive. She's banned a lot, has been picked a handful of times, and I think she has a positive win rate, but most of the matchups she was being picked in were she was being counterpicked. It was like her against Gnar or Aurora, or it wasn't any of her really dominant matchups into like Renekton's or Cassandra's or anything.
Well, Gnar people consider like a Vayne counter as Gnar.
Okay, well, that's fair. It might not be as hard as a Cassante matchup kind of deal, but I did feel like Dokla was just doing this as a statement. He's saying, all right, I'll show you what the matchup looks like, because it is one of those cases where a champion like Vayne, the existence of her really deters what you can blind pick. And so when she's available and you lock in something like Cassante, and obviously they probably didn't expect the Jace flex, but those matchups are really brutal.
Yep.
So he did manage to win though, so maybe she's not that OP.
Yeah,
Kappa.
just have Saint on your team on Ahri.
Yeah, that's all you need.
He'll 1v9 the game for you.
The Olaf game from Dokla in game 2 was crazy though. Once he got ahead, there's this one moment. I think Berserker maybe got player of the game because Berserker had a really good Lucian game. It was like that Lucian.
Yeah, he deserved it, I think.
Oh, it was
that
was
Berserker
insane.
crushed them.
He was playing crazy, but it was also like I always feel like when you have it's like the inverse of what I was talking about with like, oh, I flex so you can pick this and then you see your teammate dying. Where you see your teammate on the other side of the map, like they went 3 top early on Dokla. And he 1v3'd and killed off the enemy Ryze in like a straight up 1v3 where he like wasn't even full health. He like chunked out contracts, got him low, and then the Ryze walked up, and I don't think the Ryze had flash or realm warp or whatever, so he just like turned on the Ryze and killed the Ryze, and it's like, okay, 3 people just went top. Our top laner just solo killed the guy who counterpicked him, and then got a kill in a 1v3. You're like kind of like, okay, we're gonna win this game.
Yeah, I liked Saint's shout out to him after the game because I think he was asked who thinks should get player of the game. He goes, yeah, Dokla. Because from Saint's perspective, hey, I let my laner roam top and you killed him in a 1 versus 3. That's so crazy. How do you do that? I thought Dokla played great. And what you were mentioning with the top lane thing on the all-in, watching those matchups, I don't know. I think you have to just be built a certain way to play top lane, because it's a matchup like this, you're always going to all in each other. Both of you think you're going to win it, and it'll come down to one auto. I wish I could have seen what Jax's W cooldown was in that all in, because I thought he was going to win. His W must have been
It was really close.
half a second from coming up or less, maybe. And he just somehow couldn't get it. And then Olaf killed him by 1 auto. And it's just like, damn. And now the matchup is so bad. Usually after 1 death, that's just enough to get snowballed on. So you're down XP, you're down gold. Cheers. So
top lane is so funny. It's like you're saying, there's so much anticipation for the first like duel to the death, and so both of them are starting with like all this adrenaline and like everyone's fully locked in. And then after the first skirmish, the victor is like yes, and then whoever's in the losing part
whoever's
of
losing, he's like jungler, you gotta fix this.
Oh, no,
you gotta fix this.
Doomed now.
It's not my problem anymore. It's my jungler's problem.
It's everybody's problem.
Yeah,
That's what my friend says every time too. When he starts losing top lane a bunch, then he's like, well, there's going to be a Fed-O have fun with that one, guys.
Yeah. That's how I feel, because it's like some of these matchups, you just know the first fight or the first gank or the first whatever, it's kind of over after that, unless you get some help. So you're just like, well, I can't do anything. Good luck, guys.
That's why I enjoy about top lane though. I set like a low expectations. I have a couple games where I'm totally feeding and losing.
Yeah.
Then when you pop off and you win the fight and you're doing well in top lane, your team's all like, whoa, hey, he's crushing them this time, you know? Because they expect you to do bad.
Yeah. I think one of the things you were talking about, how these fights come down to small things. That's why, like, whenever I talk to pro players about it, it's like less like they're I like calculated out, knew I was going to be winning by one auto. It's more like they think at this level with this item I win, right? And then they just take the fight and believe that they will be able to play it well, right? And so it's like that's why in that moment I felt so disappointed that he ate all in without the ignite, because I remember like I think I was casting this game and or watching it or whatever, but I remember like saying it like, oh, his ignite's up in like 5 seconds, like he's like about to kill him, right?
You were casting because I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah.
Exactly. So it's just like one of those moments where I'm like, if I'm seeing it, he should see it. You know what I mean? And it just feels like, yeah, he could have won that fight. And I'm sure that's what he's thinking is like, oh, I could win this. But like he for sure would have won the fight if you just wait that moment. And that's where I think a lot of players, it's not even that they like do something that's that shocking when you watch it. You're trying to break it down mechanically. It's just like a knowledge gap where they're just like, oh, I hit this level and I had this item, so like I knew I would win. I just run at him, right? And I just felt like that was a tough one, especially when it is double combat sums versus double combat sums. Those are the most snowbally tops, because it's not even like you just TB back and fix your wave or whatever.
Yeah. To the all-in point, I don't know. I would have to go back and watch this exact situation, but I think usually when these mistakes happen, it could come down to sort of the next level above it, where Dokla and Fudge both know that Fudge's Ignite's going to come up first. So Dokla's going to try to get the wave in a state where he's not going to have to fight. So Fudge is maybe thinking, okay, Dokla has to overextend here to try to fix the wave before my Ignite comes up, and I can punish him by all-inning him on this certain window. So obviously it does seem like a pretty obvious mistake of, hey, why didn't you just wait for your Ignite? And honestly, that was probably correct. He probably should have done that, but it was extremely close, and that's probably the angle he was seeing of, obviously this isn't the ideal thing, but because I know what Dokla has to do to avoid this other huge threat, I can punish it in a different way. Obviously it didn't work out, but that kind of thing for sure can happen.
Yep, absolutely can. But at the end of the day, Shopify did get 2-0'd. I gotta say, I don't know how you were feeling about LYON at the start of this split, but like we did preseason kind of like power ranking thing but it was for like regular season only. And like if it was for playoffs, I was just gonna put LYON first, right? But I was like, I could see them losing some games with our Mayo coming in and like maybe MSI hangover. I think I put them third or something because I was like, then maybe drop a couple games, then Inspire will come back and they'll start winning, and then I think they'll still win the split, but like I think they'll lose some games. They're not looking like they're going to lose anything, right? Like this team is looking so good. So, I mean, I already feel like I was pretty wrong with the regular season power rankings. I think you were the only person who left them first. And yeah, I mean, I think this team is going to be first in the regular season. They are looking ridiculously good.
My favorite part about it is all of the players on LYON constantly tweeting at Inspired stuff like, we're good, bro, don't even need to come back, all this like banter that they have going back and forth. So I really do, I have really become to like this LYON lineup. They are, they're definitely give off those vibes. Everybody's friends, and they're very comfortable to make fun of each other and banter with each other. And
dude, they're just so good as well. Their games are so fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, that game too, the bot lane, it was kind of similar to what happened to TSG, but the way Berserker was playing it was it looked psychotic. He was just Eing in and trading every single second. He didn't stop. There was even the first wave crash, just level 2 to level 2. They just went for a full-on dive. They killed MF and both died, and they're like, let's go, we got him. That kind of thing is just like, these guys don't care at all. They're playing completely, with zero reservations, which is so fun to watch. And they do it so well. They're just, it seems like Saint hard carried game 1. Like Berserker did well as Ezreal as well. And then game 2, Berserker, I would say he carried it, but Dokla also standout performance in the situation he's in. So, yeah, I think they're just proving they're an all-around team. And this is without their team captain, star player, who everyone gives most of the credit to the team. So they just look completely untouchable right now.
Yeah. Last year's MVP.
Yeah, it's really fun because you totally get that feeling of like, the kids are gonna play while the authority figure is gone.
Parents are away.
Yeah, and Berserker and Isles definitely having some fun there along with the rest of them. The next match that we had was the Team Liquid versus Sentinels. Another one of these 2-0s. We had quite a lot of 2-0s. We had 3 of our 4 series with 2-0s this weekend, and this was another one where Team Liquid again kind of re-solidified how good they've been looking since since MSI, and the level ups that they showed at MSI are remaining intact. Both for like CoreJJ and Morgan, I think were the 2 like biggest levels up for MSI. But Quid is absolutely styling as well. He got his Silas in the first game and was looking huge. There was this moment where we were like, ooh, there's some really good ults for him to steal. Like if he gets a Rakan ult, you remember that Faker engage, Rakan engage where he was in World Finals and had like one of the craziest Silas engages ever? Like that could be a really good one. And then like Quid takes who he's Rakan ult, and then he teleports up to the top side of Rift Herald, and then he just runs down into this fight, and instantly I forget how many kills, but it was most of the players who were there at the Rift Herald fight. They killed them all, and then by the end of this one of these first plays, they had a 4,000 gold lead, and you're like, well, I guess Team Liquid are going to win from here, because LYON also in the bottom lane had already like earned his own, gold lead with CS lead and gotten kills on Rahel, and like this was another like fed Ezreal, and then they just won another team fight up by Herald as well. So TL, like they didn't really waste a lot of energy or time in this game. It felt like they were like straight to business. We're going to win. Bottom lane was winning early, and then they make the big team fight play and wrap it up.
Yep. I think this was an example where we've seen this kind of game a lot, where the way Sentinels drafted, this is a comp that I don't think it's necessarily a bad comp, but you can't play it like other team comps. You have Gnar and Ryze. You have to split push. You have to play to avoid the other team at all costs. When they group for something, you just spread out and push your lanes and do anything else. You have to get creative. You have to not get baited into a 5v5 because you're just going to lose it. And I think what makes it difficult is people don't want to do that. It's difficult to get vision when you can't fight. It's difficult to do a lot of stuff. And that's kind of what happened to Herald. I was really surprised to see Sentinels just start Herald in their face like that. Maybe they miscalculated or mistimed the TPs, but they got double TP'd on, and they just lose the stat check. I don't think you're ever winning a fight against this comp 4v4 or 5v5 in the early mid game, because your champions need so much time to scale. I think late game, you're looking pretty good. You can team fight. But as far as the mid game durability, you have Xinjiao, Silas, Leona up against Jarvan, Ryze, Huhi. Nobody on Sentinels can tank and engage without getting one shot. They don't have enough damage to trade one back against these tanky champs. So I think Sentinels would have had to play extremely well to win in this game, which usually comes from winning your lanes as well. I think we see LCK teams pull off this kind of draft pretty well, but I don't know. I think you just have to be a lot better than your opponent to do this. You have to play with your prio very well. You have to be able to avoid their group timings and their engages super well, and it's just difficult to do. So I would not recommend people draft like this, but if you do, you have to play to it. But we always just see them group up and then lose the fight, and then it's surprise Pikachu, which I don't know why they're surprised Pikachu, because it always happens like this.
Yeah, we actually do have the replay of it, and off the double teleport that you mentioned, Quid from the top side river. So Sentinels, they put themselves, as you're saying, into the middle of the river where they're going to get surrounded by 3 angles. Quid from the top river teleport, Morgan from the mid lane teleport, and then Core JJ's Leona just runs up straight into their faces. And there's a level 7 Leona, so he has to ult also. So how are you going to escape from the middle of the river from a Sylas with a Rakan ult, a Leona with her ult, and an Ambessa ultimate? And the answer is you don't.
And look at the health bars on Liquid. Sentinels weren't even close to getting a kill back.
Yeah.
I just think it was a super huge misjudge of what your team comp can do and what you should be trying to do. And I think it was weird that Sentinels were even attempting this Herald. I think if your goal was to get them to double TP and then bail, sure, that's an option. That's for sure better than what happened, but I don't know. I have a hard time imagining that's the best thing you could be doing at any given time. Yeah. So that's definitely kind of disappointing to see from Sentinels. I think that I don't blame people for not wanting to play this kind of comp, but I just think you shouldn't draft it if you're not going to play it properly.
Yeah, game 2 as well. I feel like I didn't love their drafting game 2 either. I felt like they were kind of in a hard position because the way I kind of looked at it was top side of the map for TL felt like they really outscale with like Ornn, Fury, Orianna versus Rumble, Lee Sin, Galio. And then usually when you play those kind of comps that can tend to get outscaled, you generally have to stack dragons or find some way to like force the team to come to you early and force souls. But then they had a hard losing 2v2 because they're playing Jhin Alistar into Kalista Renata, right? And it's like now you're basically playing comp that can't get early dragons, that needs to get picks, but you need to get picks and one-shot someone versus Renata. And like that is tough, right? And you're going to get outscaled, so you got to kind of do it fast. And Hanbok played a really good early game and was kind of everywhere, finding plays and making things happen. And so like they were in with a chance. Like they were up 2,500 gold or something like that. Kind of relatively early and hovered around there for quite a while. And then we got that one comms replay where he's
that
like,
one was so good.
He's like, I really don't want to fight around mid. No, like, so if we can avoid it, like, please avoid it or whatever he said. And then immediately Hanbok just like queues in, and then I guess he thought he was gonna like queue in and then like, well, I'm Lee Sin, I'll just like ward hop out and it'll be fine. But like he just got caught and killed. Yeah. And
you know what it
like,
was?
Oh no.
Yeah. So that's definitely what happened. You could totally see the gears turning in Hanbok's head because he was safe if he ward hopped out, but he sees the Jhin trap. He goes, I can save my ward. I don't need to ward hop out. But the Jhin trap is next to the wall, and he just gets Ornn-E'd because he jumped too close to the wall. So if he just used a ward that wasn't next to the wall, he was probably fine. But it's just one of those little things that didn't work out. And then that was pretty bad for them. They got pretty behind off that. And I gotta say, the Kalistas this week, especially Yawns in this game, it was hitting different. There was a while where Kalista, especially this duo, Kalista Renata, was just losing everything everywhere.
Yeah.
But his damage was so high. I know Terminus was buffed, but he didn't have it yet. But just in those mid-game fights, he was destroying people.
So one thing he did different is a lot of people have been doing the static shiv, which new static shiv, does the rend for a bunch of targets, but he skipped it, and I was like,
Yeah, he rushed Gwinsu this game.
It's really high damage when you don't go for it. I mean, the static shifting is cool.
I think it's good,
but it also made me question. It's clearly not always.
You can see why the old build existed.
Yeah, not always optimal.
But I don't remember seeing Kalista do this kind of damage for a long time because he was exploding people in those fights around his Raptors and then around mid. I remember seeing Alistar just get chunked for almost half his HP by the Rend. So that was cool. I feel like Kalista's super fun to watch in pro and she's strong.
Yep.
But that was a crazy performance by Yawn.
Yawn has just been good. Like I've been pretty critical of Yawn for split 1, for split 2 at MSI. I feel like even though the team looked really good, when I think about those close games against T1, the thing that stood out to me in like all those lost games was like, damn, Yawn really trolled this team fight. Or like I remember Yawn on this Jhin game in this river fight, like walking melee range of Doran on Bessa and just like dying and things like that, right? And it was like he has not been himself.
That one totally lost us the whole game right there, too. Now you're bringing me back to flashbacks, dude.
I know, but last year when TL when TL had been struggling over the last couple years, it's like, yeah, TL kind of sucks, but LYON might carry though, right? And then they like rebuild their team, they get all these players, everyone's playing so well, but LYON has not been playing that well. And so it's exciting for me to see like, damn, like these first couple weeks, LYON's looking really good. Yeah. And I feel like Core, I am sometimes critical of him getting all pros, where I feel like there's been a number of all pros over the year where I feel like people are just
even in spring. I think we brought this up.
In spring, I thought he deserved it over him in this last split, and I have said it before where I'm like, I think people just aren't sure who to vote for, so they just default to Core because he's been really good for a long time, and I feel like sometimes he gets that kind of like name brand benefit of just people like, I don't know, well, no one's gonna flame me if I vote Core JJ, right? And so I feel like sometimes he's unfairly getting the benefit, and I feel like he's not always playing to the level that he has been at, like at the highest levels of his career for a while. And I feel like at MSI, he was insanely good. And I feel like he's come back from MSI and been insanely good these first couple weeks. And so I'm like, all right, if Jose plays like Jose did last split and Morgan plays like Morgan did at MSI, and like all of a sudden LYON and Core are just like peak, like this team is crazy. This team is more than just like a pretty good team. This is a team that could actually beat LYON. This is a team that could, if LYON could do damage internationally, this team could do damage internationally too. Like they had some really close games against T1 with LYON playing not so good. So I'm kind of excited by that. And
you should be.
It does make me really excited for the TL LYON matchup that is brewing. And that's going to be in week 6 on the LYON homestand, the Mexico road trip.
Yeah, that's going to be super hype.
They're going to play against LYON in Mexico, TL versus LYON. We're also going to get like C9 versus LYON as well, I believe. So we're going to get some really, really banger matchups there. And I feel like a lot of the split is going to kind of feel like, all right, it's building towards this. It's a 7-week regular season. And if both these teams are playing at this level, you kind of expect them to beat everyone except each other, right? Yeah. And then that week 6 matchup in Mexico could kind of determine who's the first seed.
Yeah, we had last split, we had this graphic where it was you turn one switch and then the other switches turn off. Yeah. And so you're like, oh, Morgan's playing super good. Oh, no, Quid and LYON are both playing bad. And then, oh, LYON's playing good. Oh, the other two are bad. Oh, Quid's playing good. Oh, the other ones. And now like finally it's like full power. All switches are on for Team Liquid. So hopefully they can keep that up. From the side of the Sentinels though, the funniest thing and the biggest takeaway for me was actually we had pros who he was on pros this week after their loss and was directly asked about the comms incident because Dokla was listening to it and was there and they brought it up and who he was like, okay, yeah, he didn't mention it before, but then when he was directly asked about it, then he was like, yeah, actually, I'm super tilted. I'm still tilted, because he felt, so frustrated that like the team just needs that little bit of coordination. And who he says like, yes, this was our best week of practice we've had all year long. So he had really high hopes. And then for, something like that to, very clearly just be like a comms thing or like a small moment thing where some little decision like that. So I'm actually, it did kind of make me more hopeful than I was for Sentinels because who he himself was so frustrated and it was like so close to actually still being a good week for them. So definitely looking forward to Sentinels for the future too. But that comms listening and then the direct like ignore of the call was.
Oh so yeah, I don't blame him. He should be tilted, and Hanbok should feel bad about doing that because you can understand like it happens. The Jin trap, confuse him, whatever. But at the same time, that's such a troll way to throw a game. There was nothing good could possibly come from what you were doing. You were just trying to annoy them, get a tiny chunk on an Ornn, and then you died. Yeah. You fully died. I don't know if he had a shutdown at the time, but he was doing pretty well before that. Yeah. And then it's not even just that, but who he specifically said don't fight. And
2 seconds before.
Yeah, from Hui's perspective, what can I do? I said don't fight. Not only did you not listen to me, you just took a fight that made no sense and you died.
I'm getting like tilted just thinking about situations where like I've been in where you're playing with
every League player has seen this. You're just like, what are you doing? If you can't make the right decision, at least listen to me.
I'm playing against like Quinn top and he like I see him fly mid over a ward. I'm like spam pinging it. Don't fight mid, don't fight mid. They all in die. Question mark you top lane. I'm like,
And then it was so fun. That's why it was so funny watching who he on pros, like leading up to it. He's like, yeah, we can improve on our coordination and, our team play.
Yeah, that was
he was
rehearsed.
directly asked about it and he was like, yeah, you know what? I'm frustrated. And I was like, good.
Tell him how it is.
out.
Tell him how it is.
So that's definitely cool. But we also have week 3 to look ahead to at the moment. I have to take a real quick bathroom break though. I got it. Sorry.
Week 3 got me so excited.
I'm going to leave.
We got to keep that in. All right, time to talk about week 3 of the LCS here. I'm gonna be honest, we got 2 that are looking a little stompy, a little stinky, and then we got 2 that are looking really good.
They look stinky, or they
both. They smell and look.
Okay.
You can look at something and see that it looks a little stinky.
Actually, you're right.
You open up like some spinach or whatever, and it's like kind of wilted and looking nasty. You don't need to sniff.
So. We
know.
should start with the stinky ones.
Why don't we just skip past that sting?
You know what? Fair enough. You see it? It looks like it's gonna stink.
I don't need to sniff.
You're not gonna step in it.
I can see.
You're gonna walk around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some dog
I
poop
do
on the
think-
ground. I don't need to take a sniff to know. I don't want to step in it, Kobe. I see that it looks stinky.
I will say one of the games that looks pretty
He's
one-sided
taking a sniff.
Yes.
is we get to see Dardoch. We get to see Dardoch come play against LYON.
That's true.
And he could have a big upset because remember when Kryra came into DSG, his first game was against LYON and they managed to win.
Yeah.
So Dardoch could have the same thing going on. I don't know if Inspired's back this week. Was it 2 or 3 weeks he was going to be gone?
He said 2 or 3 weeks he'll be gone. So
it could be this week or
could be this
not.
week or next week. Yeah.
Maybe he figures his team's doing all right. He can take another week off for whatever he's doing. Not sure. But I think that game will at least be interesting as far as narratives go. And it has the potential to surprise us, though realistically, Dig's probably going to get their head caved in because LYON's just looking completely unstoppable right now.
I mean, LYON versus Dig looking really one-sided, and C9 versus DSG looking really one-sided, right? In my view, I hope that they're exciting games, and I do think for the Dignitas one, even if it is a stomp, I'm really excited to see how
I want to listen to some of the
Dardoch
columns
looks.
as they're getting stomped. I don't know.
But Sentinels versus Shopify and Fly versus TL are really interesting to me because Sentinels and Shopify are 2 teams that are very much around the same kind of area in the standings, right? These are the teams I think most people kind of have in like the 5th, 6th type power rankings.
Couple of medium dogs fighting each other.
Couple of mediums right there, but not medium plus.
Okay, yeah.
Medium at best. If you want a plus, they have to be small plus.
Okay.
But they're trying to see if they can punch up, because obviously the goal for these teams too is still to go to Worlds, right? Like I don't put that much stock into EWC, I'm just going to be honest, but Sentinels did win the EWC qualifier, right? And obviously I think that gave them confidence that like, hey, they could go to Worlds, they could be winning against the top teams. And so the goal obviously is to go to Worlds. And I think if either of these teams make it, into top 4, like definitely not both of them are going to do it. Like this is going to decide, if you have any chance of making it to top 4, which means you get 2 lives in playoffs, which I think is really, really important. You have to win this week. It feels like to me, because I just don't see them beating that many of the top teams to get there otherwise. So I think Sentinels versus Shopify is actually really, really important for like playoff situation for both of these teams. Because if you get 4th, you get the 2 lives. That's really, really big. And then Fly versus TL. Fly already lost to LYON with Armeo, which I think was kind of a surprise to me, because I like last time we saw them regular season, Fly actually won, and Fly I know I was feeling really confident after their off season, and LYON was having a sub and blah blah blah. So it's like if we are looking at Fly as a team, like ThinkCard straight up told me, and like Griffin was feeling the same way, we are going to go to Worlds. So if you're going to do it, there's only 3 slots, right? You already lost the line. If you're gonna get there, you got to be able to beat some of these other teams, or at least go toe to toe with some of these other teams, because these are the kind of teams that you're gonna be fighting with for those world slots. TL, LYON, C9, and potentially a Sentinels or a Shopify or whoever else, if they can kind of push up there too and make it like more than just a 4-horse race. So I think these are actually really exciting matches, and potentially really, really important matches. If FlyQuest sees themselves as going to Worlds, that means you're at least a top 3 team, and you already lost to one of the other top 3 teams, and now you get a chance to play against TL. So I think they need to be able to show they can at least compete with a team of this level if you want to go to Worlds.
Yeah. For Sentinel versus Shopify, I don't know who I would really pick for that one. I would say probably Sentinels, because I view them as having a higher peak, perhaps. I think there's more potential for them just because I think the way that Shopify is already doing these Band-Aid fixes of putting Zenny on Galio, Anivia, Annie. They tried Ryze, but that didn't go too well. So I think that he's just really struggled to live up to the hype he's had kind of the entire year, and the most success he's had is basically just playing the auto-filled champions, if you will. And I'm not trying to like flame too hard or anything. He's had some good moments on those champions, but overall, not looking too great. And I think that when you're already making the Band-Aid fixes to say, hey, let's just find something that works for us, and then we're just going to keep doing that, you kind of limit yourself as a team. Yeah. So I see a lot more potential from Sentinels. I think Humbach can be very good. He'll have his Kiana games, which I think you could beat. I think you could really punch up with those kind of picks. He's extremely aggressive. Can definitely make advantages for his team. Pretty worried about Rahel, though. I think Rahel has actually been pretty underwhelming to me the whole year outside of his Caitlyn. He's picked a lot of Jhin, and even in their last game against Team Liquid, his Jhin was questionable. There was the last team fight of the game where instead of walking up and killing whoever it was, I don't remember, there was somebody very low. I don't remember who it was, but he basically could have walked up and just one-tapped somebody for a kill, but instead he backed up and started ulting, doing nothing. So it was just a really weird look. It feels like Jhin is just a champion you pick to try to be a passenger. And I don't think that's going to work for Sentinel's team because you have Impact, who's kind of the tank player, the enabler for his team. So you really need carries elsewhere. And I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about what we've seen from Rahel so far. I think they need to try to find something that works for him that's not just Caitlyn. In Shopify, similar deal I mentioned with, I think Zenny's not looking that great. And I think the rest of their team has some potential. I think Zazel's been a nice improvement. I think he has definitely been a breath of life for this team. But I would still maybe give Sentinel a slight edge.
Yeah, I mean, Sentinels 2-0'd them last time they played, and they have made the changes for this time around with Zazel coming into the team. But I agree with you on the mid lane take for sure. I think Dark Wings is way better than Zinni. And that is honestly pretty cool that North American, straight from challengers mid laner is like, to me, I feel like there's no discussion. It's just way better than Zinni for the individual matchup for, like you're saying, it was a hyped up LCK pickup for them. So I think the mid lane is definitely pretty heavily favored for Sentinels. And that was a big factor last time around that they did play. Maybe if Fudge can do a week one Fudge performance, and then that could change some stories for them. Because B-Boy and Rahel, maybe I don't know, maybe that's like pretty close bottom lane. I don't particularly feel like one is going to blast the other in lane. Maybe we'll see with Zazel being on the team now for Shopify could change things up, but honestly, after listening to LYON Pros and him talking about venting and letting it out after the small miscommunication or large miscommunication, depending on your viewpoint, but him also talking about how their week of practice leading up was the best they've had all year, and he was feeling so confident, and that's why he was super frustrated, makes me think that they'll be able to carry the momentum or fix those problems quickly because they were frustrated, and it was very clearly Hambach's I wouldn't do that. I won't do that again. There's not gonna be an argument for Hambach. No, I really think this angle was good to get in his head and chunk out the Ornn, right? No, they're all gonna be in agreement. Let's not do that. So I think Sentinels will come in cleaner vision, more aligned, pretty fired up also after their previous loss. So I probably strongly favor Sentinels. And Shopify, Shopify going to have back to some more of the promising week one performances that they had.
I mean, it's really interesting because obviously both these teams played against really good teams last week, right? They played against LYON and TL. So some of the things that, I was critical of Fudge for example, I don't think that he gets punished in the same way, right? Dark Wings, I think, has been playing, really well. But I don't think
He's not going to Saint Ari game them.
Exactly. He's not going to Saint Ari, E-flashed you over the wall and one-shot you on the vein if you get in that spot. Like, I just don't think they have that kind of,
nobody's doing that.
they don't have that kind of player, right?
That was too crazy.
And like I don't think that Impact is also going to be punishing like getting solo kills when he gets counterpicked in that same way and stuff. So like I think Fudge will have a little bit more freedom, and I do think that's one area where they could have an advantage. I think Impact hasn't been bad by any means, but I do think Fudge has more like carry threat than Impact, and especially if that's the style that they want to play. Like if the style that they want to play, they played against LYON is what they're going to try to bring here, then I could see that maybe working a bit better against Impact, or maybe Fudge doesn't get punished in that same way. So that's somewhere that I think that they could be working. I do really agree against any. And it is kind of disappointing because like I was pretty bought in. Like Chronicler really sold me on this player and like sent me some of his VODs from LCK challengers, and I talked a lot with Emily about him and stuff too. And like this guy looked so promising. This is a guy who had opportunities on top 5 LCK teams like that he could have joined, and he came here instead. And the expectation from most people was that like maybe the team wouldn't be like godlike or whatever, or maybe he wouldn't work as well with his team. But people were expecting him to just individually mechanically gap every mid laner in the league. That it would just be like, this guy looks clearly better than everyone. Like his hands are just better. He's just gonna be able to find these plays and look individually incredible, even if it wasn't a team thing. And that has not been the case, which does make me wonder. Like sometimes it is hard for a young player to cross the world, and sometimes they struggle with like adapting to the culture or being away from family, or like it's a huge change in your life. It's more than just like playing the game and the communication barrier, but like it's hard for some people, and so maybe he's struggling with that. But like I definitely agree. Darkwings has been looking a lot better. And the other thing I will say for Sentinels is I do think who he is to me like still a pretty big standout. I think anytime we're listening to the comms, like he is doing for them what like Inspired is doing for LYON. It feels like he's setting up a lot of the plays. He's always calling for things. And I feel like last play he was playing really well individually too. So I think I'm favoring Sentinels, but maybe not like super heavily, because I could definitely see an angle where Shopify plays the same style that they did against LYON, and that could actually result in wins, because I feel like Contracts has been pretty good individually, I think, and I think that I could see Fudge being able to succeed where he failed against Dokla and LYON.
Yeah. Jungle matchup as well. I think they're both kind of the more creative style junglers. Neither one of them wants to win through farm advantages, so it should be a cool matchup. I'm really looking forward to the last one, though, Fly versus TL, because TL has been looking really good, but I still don't know if I would full-on favor them, just because as far as the lane matchups themselves go, I think I like how much more aggressive Fly plays. Even though TL is winning their games, I do find that they play fairly slowly. A lot of their games are low action until somewhere in the mid game. In the last one we were mentioning earlier, nothing really happened until that Herald fight, and then they were able to create their leads. And so I think if you're just relying on kind of slow play and winning your lanes, then FlyQuest has really good laners. I think their bot lane, super good. I don't think TL's bot lane is going to run them over. Maybe they could outdraft them. I could see them being more flexible with some picks, but I think if FlyQuest gets a good matchup, they could totally run over TL's bot lane. And same with top. Gakko, super good player. Morgan has kind of lent himself more towards the tanks, where Gakko is more of a carry threat. But I'm not sure. I would definitely favor Jose over Griffin when it comes to meta picks in the jungler. And maybe in a best of 5, I think that Griffin could kind of get an edge with more creative picks. But in a best of 3, Fearless, you might only need meta picks. And Jose has looked so much better on the meta picks than Griffin has.
I think that's a problem with support as well, because like Cryogen, I mean, he even said, and people have talked to him on FlyQuest and stuff, it's like when he came in, they felt like they were pretty lucky that it was like this enchanter meta, because they feel like that is like his real specialty, is he's really good on these enchanters or range supports. And I think that also lends to how lane dominant they were playing 2v2, because they were playing a lot of like Karma and Bard and these style of champions. And I think when you are playing the engaged champions, it is a lot about knowing where to be when, right? And I kind of expect Core to have the advantage in that. And I kind of see it like, I could see a world in which it's similar to the Nefiri Rel game that TL played against C9, where it was just like Core and Jose are in the right place, are finding the pick, are set up faster than Griffin and Cryo, because I think they both have a lot less experience than those other guys. And so I think that is going to be the real challenge for FlyQuest is like, can you match those plays when TL makes them? Because even though they do play some of those early games slow, once they feel like they have an advantage or once they feel like they have an edge, they are really quick to actually pull for those plays. And then they kind of just continue pushing you out of your jungle and like pushing the game forward, I think, in a really, really good way. So I fully agree that FlyQuest has the individual talent, FlyQuest has the laning power. So the question to me is, can they actually like match the kind of like map movements and stuff that where I see is like a real big strength for TL?
Yeah, draft is going to be huge, like you mentioned as well, because if FlyQuest gets stuff that they're confident on and comfortable with, they could easily take it, but TL's probably much more well-rounded. Like you said, I think they're more flexible as far as what they're going to play in both top and support mostly. So, yeah, we're going to see. What do you think, Kobe?
Yeah, I got Team Liquid for sure. Like I
For sure.
actually,
2-0?
I'm pretty strong on Team Liquid.
Okay.
And to be fair, to argue for TL's side against the like slow, they had the fastest game. The Rift Herald game was 23 and a half minutes. It was the fastest game.
It ended early, but it was not high action.
True.
Go from watching the LYON game to watching the TL game. And I mean, I get it.
Game, everyone's like, ah,
Yeah, and
I see a guy. I'm like, kill
yeah,
you
it's
instantly.
sick. It's awesome. That's some good League of Legends. And
Yeah.
TL has done that before, right? They're not incapable of it, but it does feel like they're definitely buying more into the controlled style, which nothing against them. That is
Their parents are definitely home, where Lion's parents are on vacation.
it's clearly working, right?
And FlyQuest,
clearly working.
their parents are also gone too.
Yeah. It's just maybe you're not punishing your opponents as hard as you could sometimes, or maybe you're just taking less risks, which is fine. We'll see when those two teams actually match up, whose style's going to work better.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I don't think anyone can just do what Lion's doing, because you have just some of the best laners of all time and from NA doing this kind of thing. So. I think what TL's doing is working fine for them, and they don't need to change it. Just FlyQuest, definitely a little bit looser. Maybe could just do something crazy.
I for sure could see FlyQuest winning, and I'm definitely I definitely like this team. I like their brand of gameplay as well. It's super fun to watch. I'm just super high on Team Liquid right now. I feel like they're kind of they're peaking at the right time, and we talk about like these curves over the year. I think it has progressed really, really well for Team Liquid.
We have yet to see that. And peaking now is not the right time. Peaking 6 weeks from now is the right time.
They're approaching. They're ramping. They're ramping. There you go.
You don't want to be peaking now. You want to be ramping.
All our teams are going to peak at Worlds. You know?
Yeah, true. Well, okay, maybe we get multiple peaks, and then you just keep on doing personal bests.
The next mountain.
You never know. You never know you're going to have another
You're
peak.
doing some of this. There's some dips in this movement. That's not what you want.
In order to peak again,
Let's take a helicopter to the next peak.
Let's take that back to the drawing board.
It's not like this. It's like this. It just keeps going up.
Yeah, they're ramping. Really
There we go.
They're ramping at the perfect time.
I think I agree with you guys though that TL's experience is going to win out, because the more I think about it, it just feels really hard to beat. You have to do it twice. You have to just beat them so hard. And when they have a controlled style, that's usually not the easiest to just snowball against. So, yeah, I'll say 2-1
Yeah,
TL. I'll give FlyQuest 1. I'll give them 1.
They definitely could do it, though. I could definitely see them doing it, especially if they are able to get jungle advantage. I think that's going to be super hard for them to do, but they're definitely capable of doing it, especially with the drafts that, ThinkHard loves being really creative to draft for jungle.
Yeah.
Ever since he rejoined us, even before he came back up to NA, and we had him on the analyst desk, he's like, I love coaching for jungle focused teams. And I was like, I agree, man. I like your philosophy.
You need to be coaching my soul.
Get in here.
I worked with him 10 years ago on C9, and he was one of the people I worked with best, because he was. Yeah, he's a jungler as well. He gets it.
Exactly.
He gets it.
So I definitely could see it happening. I would just I'm just placing my bets on the TL side.
Yeah, I'm TL favored for sure as well. I think I think if FlyQuest wins, it is through creative picks, and I just think that is harder to do in a best of 3 and a best of 5. I feel like there's more of a chance that you could get those like Nasus angles and good Shyvana angles and Shen jungle angles and all this sort of stuff in a best of 5 where you're pushing people further, kind of like down the tier list, and can maybe kind of like get an advantage from some of that creativity. And Gatghost, I think, has shown that he can bring out some of those kind of picks as well, like his Quinn, and in the past he's brought out Aurelia and that sort of thing, and Yasuo even. And that's just harder to do, I think, in a best of 3. So I am definitely still favoring TL, but I'm hoping that we're going to have a really close match.
Yeah, it should be a good one.
I want the Gatghost Yasuo. He's so good in solo queue with it. I don't think he's brought it out in pro yet.
Yeah, everyone keeps telling me that he's godlike on it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Dude, if you can play Yasuo, just play Yasuo, man. Give him Nart, pick Yasuo into it. Who cares? Run it down. It'll be fun.
Perfect. There you go. Well, I'm looking forward to this week of the LCS. So that is going to do it for us here on The Dive, driven by Kia. Be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube so you don't miss an episode of Dive. Also, leave a comment. We appreciate them and we read them. LCS returns this Saturday, 1 p.m. Pacific, C9, taking on DSG. We will see you there.